Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's video. So to GavsWeatherVids Sunday Round-Up for today's video. So this is going to be your Sunday lunchtime, afternoon, eclectic mix of this and that. We'll be looking at things like sea surface temperature, anomalies, solar activity, the QVO, the AO, the NEO, and more as well. Of course, the weather for the next week, 10 days and beyond. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and I shall get on with the Sunday Round-Up for you very shortly. Just to say that the first video released today was our nice little 7 AM upload, just a couple of minute forecast looking at the weather for the next few days in detail. And also summer update has been released, the 9th and penultimate summer update. It's a little bit of a epic one, that one, so have a look at the 9th summer update if you'd like to do that. Going to be live streaming from 6 PM this evening, so I see you live at 6. But let's get on with the Sunday Roundup first of all, shall we? Right, so let's turn webcam off. We're going to have a look at solar activity. Here we go. First of all, so this is from solarham.net. We've got one sunspot region just here. But despite that, solar activity is at very low levels and is expected to remain at very low levels for the next 3 days, with just that one little sunspot on our side of the solar disk today. This is the updated solar activity tracker from our good friend James Ackrill, keeper of the solar tracker. So you can see that with this, the orange line depicting each individual day's worth of sunspot activity. So you can see that we did have like quite a big rise in activity actually back in April. Then we dropped down to no activity for a few days. Where we are right now is just here. So we're at a low level of activity, but we have got regular sunspots at the moment. So yeah, you know, you see from the orange line here, but there are regular sunspots now. We have left behind the days where you know, had several days in weeks without anything happening on the sun. Most days now are producing sunspots, but a low level of them. So you can see from the trend lines, they are lifting up actually at the moment. The trends are thick green and thick red lines. They are trending upwards, as you expect, given that we are now 18 months into, nearly 18 months into solar cycle 25. You would expect that the trends would be lifting up actually, you know, quite quickly now. It's relatively slow to lift those trend lines up because although we are having regular sunspots, it's just a low level of sunspots. But very, very gradually we are moving into solar cycle 25 in a slow sort of fashion. Very similar, really, to what happened with solar cycle 24, the last solar cycle, which again was a very slow starter. And solar cycle 25 is performing very, very closely, I think, to solar cycle 24. Thank you so much to James for the tracker. This is from Rich. Who am I today? Let's have a look. So it looks like I'm the Saint today. Is that Roger Moore? The Saint? I think that's Roger Moore being turned into the Saint. Thank you, Rich, for that. Right, so this is showing me spotless days and current spotless stretch. So for 2021 so far, we've had 46 days without sunspots. That is 34% of the year. So that percentage is gradually coming down as we're going further on into year. As again, you can expect as we progress on into solar cycle 25. It's comparable with 2020, which had 208 days throughout the whole year without sunspots, which was 57% of the year. So obviously it's a lower percentage. And that percentage will reduce further as we move further on through the year. Our solar minimum year, of course, was 2019, which had 281 days without sunspots, which was 77% of the year. So, yeah, you know, the evidence is very much there that solar cycle 25 is developing, but it's developing slowly, it's taking its time, and so the slow sort of development of solar cycle 25 goes on. Thank you to James and to Rich for sending through the data. Right, looking at the oceans next. This is how the sea surface temperature anomalies were looking when we did last week's Sunday Roundup. This is from the 9th of May. Got our 3 areas of interest, of course. You've got the ENSO region just here. The summer update, not sure if I mentioned this at the start, is an ENSO special as well. So check out that if you would like to do so a little bit later on. Got the Northeastern Pacific up here, and then we've got the Atlantic Ocean, the North Atlantic Ocean over there. These are our 3 areas of interest. That's how the oceans looked when we did last week's Sunday Roundup. This is how oceans look this week. So dealing with the ENSO region first, there's been very little change there over the past week. Perhaps increased the sea surface temperature on it slightly through the central and eastern part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. We're coming out of La Nina. Of course, we know how the La Nina event through the winter of 2020-2021. We're back to ENSO neutral now, and we wait to see where we're going to go from here. Our summer update is looking at summers that are going from La Nina to just ENSO neutral, and summers that are like back-to-back La Nina summers. So check out that if you'd like to do that. But at the moment, it's ENSO neutral, and we wait to see, where we go through the summer and into the autumn. Very little change in the ENSO region over the past week, just a slight warming perhaps. In the Northern Pacific, things are beginning to warm up in this northeastern corner now. We've got some significantly warmer than average sea surface temperature, not just here, although close to the coast of Alaska, Canada and North America. Actually, it is still relatively cold, especially around here, which is still like a cold PDO type signature of the coast of America, Pacific coast of America. But in the deeper waters of the Northern Pacific through here, things are looking quite a bit warmer. So we may start to see this area beginning to warm up over the next few weeks. Have to keep a close eye on that. And then in the Atlantic Ocean, let's just have a look at last week in the Atlantic. So again, that is how, cast your eyes over here. That's how the Atlantic Ocean looked last week. This is how it looks this week. Very warm Atlantic Ocean generally, so it's warm up here around Greenland, warm and average sea surface temperature anomalies there. Big area of warm and average sea surface temperature anomalies there through the central part of the Atlantic and around the Azores and going down the Canary Islands and stretching all the way over towards the Caribbean. So warm through there. Into the tropical Atlantic, it isn't quite as warm through there, but overall it's like average to a bit above through the tropical Atlantic. It gets warmer the further north you go, and I think over the past week the change is that generally most parts of the northern Atlantic anyway have got even warmer over the past week, particularly this area just here, but also close to Greenland too. This tropical part of the Atlantic Ocean possibly has seen the temperature anomalies edge down slightly. But yeah, generally quite a warm Atlantic Ocean at the moment. Keep a close eye on the oceans, of course, as we always do over the next few days, weeks, months, years, and whatnot. Right, this is how the Southern Oscillation Index is looking. This is from Queensland Government. Remember, the Southern Oscillation Index is just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state. It doesn't drive anything in its own terms. It just tells us what the atmosphere is doing. It's measuring air pressures between Darwin and Tahiti in the Southern Pacific Ocean. So when the SOI is in its positive phase, the atmospheric setup will be reflective of La Nina. When the SOI is in its negative phase, atmospheric setup will be reflective of El Nino. So let's come down to our dates and columns then. So these are the dates just here. This is the column for Tahiti, this is the column for Darwin, and then this is the overall SOI number that is derived from those air pressures between Darwin and Tahiti. Right, so you can see actually we've gone quite positive with the SOI. Could this be a sign of La Nina beginning to re-emerge? Look at these numbers. Since we started May, when it was actually quite negative, for example, on the 2nd of May, we was at minus 20.28. On the 3rd of May, it was at minus 12.62. Since then, the SOI has been in a much more strongly positive phase. So it begins on the 4th of May when we go to plus 7. 5th of May we go to plus 25. 6th of May we go to plus 32. 7th of May plus 22.69. 8th of May plus 10. 9th of May plus 5. 10th of May plus 7. 11th of May plus 8. 12th of May plus 5. 13th of May plus 8. 14th of May plus 17. 15th of May, plus 25.83, and the latest, 16th of May, bear ahead of us in Australia, of course, plus 22.28, consistently positive with the SOI over the past couple of weeks. That is an atmospheric state that, is reflecting La Nina. It's a La Nina type atmospheric setup. So although the ocean has gone back to ENSO neutral, the atmosphere looks like it's more definitively going back into a La Nina type state. If that continues, it could start another La Nina off through the summer. So we might see those sea temperature anomalies starting to get colder again through the equatorial Pacific Ocean if this goes on, this consistent positivity of the SOI, basically a consistent La Nina type atmospheric state. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. It's interesting that this is happening, as we come to the end of the spring. Summer is where most of these ENSO events begin, whether they're La Nina or El Nino. So this might be the start, actually, of La Nina re-emerging. We shall keep a close eye on that. CFSV2 is forecast to stay at ENSO neutral at the moment. So this would be forecast pulling from the CFSV2. The temperature anomalies on the side. Dates are on the bottom of charts on the chart in monthly periods. The all-important number is half a degree, 0.5 degrees below average for La Nina, 0.5 degrees above average for El Nino. So the black dash line is the on-sol mean. You see that's hovering around or just under exact neutral, this zero line just here. So very much CFSV2 at the moment is forecasting that we stick around ENSO neutral. A little bit on the cold side of ENSO neutral, but forecasting that we can stay at ENSO neutral for the rest of the year. But again, we're at the spring predictability barrier. All these models struggle to see where ENSO is going to go at this time of year. So I think they need to wait a little bit longer to confirm that it is going to be ENSO neutral for the rest of the year. Given what's happening with the Southern Oscillation Index, I wouldn't be overly surprised if we see the CFSV2 shortly starting to move back towards a La Nina type forecast. But we shall see. We'll keep a close eye on that. Right, we've got the QBO next, quasi-biennial oscillation. This is from NASA. So with this, you have to think that these are our levels of the atmosphere through here. This is like the top of the atmosphere in the stratosphere at 10 HPA. And then we've got the troposphere there, 30 to 50 HPA. Again, as with all of these indexes, the QBO is just an index, that's kind of reflecting the outside state, and this time it's measuring the strength of the zonal westerlies. So it's primarily a winter driver, but we do look at it all year round as well. So when you're in a westerly QBO, the QBO oscillates between its two phases, westerly and easterly, should be very consistent, should be very regular, pulse-like, heartbeat-like, continuously oscillating between westerly and easterly QBO phases. When you're in a westerly QBO, you strengthen the zonal westerlies, and when you're in an easterly QBO, you weaken the zonal westerlies. So easterly QBOs tend to coincide with a greater chance of northern blocking and colder winters for northern Europe. Westerly QBOs tend to coincide with milder winters and stronger zonal westerly flows for northern Europe. It's not as simple as that. You do get many easterly QBO winters that are mild and westerly. You get some westerly QBO winters that are cold and blocked. The one just gone, for example. So, of course, we had our last easterly QBO phase is almost disappearing off the chart now, just here. That was in 2017, 2018. The blue-green area is like the easterly QBO. The sandy coloured area is the westerly QBO. So, the last proper easterly QBO phase is nearly off the chart now. That's how long ago it was. And, of course, 2018-19, we go into a westerly QBO phase. The last year, we should have had an easterly QBO developing. You see it up here in the stratospheric level, these blue-green colours. That was the that should have been the last easterly QBO sort of phase. It did not descend from the stratosphere into the troposphere properly. The westerly QBO hung on and then came back. So we had a failure of the easterly QBO last year, which is, we think, is quite unusual. We've only been measuring the QBO since the 1950s, so we haven't been measuring it all that long. We think it should be very regular, reliable, and pulse-like, but it's a relatively short time period to measure the QBO. So we had failure of the ECQBO last year. Wesley QBO came back through the second half of the year. Wesley QBO is still there in the troposphere now. Remember, the troposphere is like 30 to 50 HPA. So you can see that Wesley QBO is still there in the troposphere, but the ECQBO is having another go at descending. It's up in the stratosphere, it's getting stronger, and it looks like it's pushing down to the troposphere, doesn't it? You see how those blue-green areas are descending towards the tropospheric level, almost now at the troposphere, actually. If we zoom in, you can see that there is definitely like a clear dissension going on of the, is that a word, dissension? You can see that clearly the ECQBO is descending from the stratosphere towards and now just about into the troposphere, pushing the Wesley QBO, lower down. So, excuse me, it does look very much as though the ECQBO is developing, strengthening, descending, and I reckon we're going to go into a proper easterly QBO phase through this summer. We may get another failure, we may get another failure of the ECQBO, but I think we're going to go into an easterly QBO this summer. So we should wait and see how that plays out. But clearly, you can see from the intensity of the colours how the blues are just getting deeper up here. Clearly, the ECQBO is strengthening, and clearly it is pushing down from the stratosphere into the troposphere. So I reckon ECQBO is on the way, and we're going to be there within the next few weeks. Right, so Arctic Oscillation observed and forecast next. Again, this is just an index that's measuring the atmospheric state. This time, it's looking at the Arctic. So when the AO is positive, you're going to have low pressure over the Arctic. When the AO is negative, you're going to have high pressure blocking over the Arctic. So it doesn't, as all of the index doesn't drive anything, just responds to what the atmosphere is doing. So the black line shows where we've been with the AO, red line at the end where the GFS ensembles are forecasting the AO to go. You can see that back into the winter, the AO was negative up until the middle of February, had a lot of northern blocking. Then we went into late February into March, and the AO goes positive. So we lose a blocking, we go a lot milder later in February, and March is generally quite a mild westerly type month. Since April, blocking has been coming back again, and the QBO has been, I should say the AO, has been neutral to negative just here through April and on into May as well. That's one of the reasons we have had quite a cold April and May. But we have had considerable levels of blocking again around Iceland, Greenland, and into the Arctic. Where we currently are with the AO is just there, so we're around neutral with the Arctic Oscillation. GFS ensembles are forecasting that the AO is going to go negative again, though, over the next week or so. So next week, 10 days, probably sees blocking re-emerging, re-strengthening around Greenland yet again, and that sends the AO negative once more. In the very extended range, which takes us up to the end of May, now we may see the Arctic Oscillation going back towards neutral. There's not much sign that we go positive with the AO though, so for the time being it looks like northern blocking is set to continue. NAO observed and forecast is very similar. So again, the black line shows we've been with the North Atlantic Oscillation, red lines at the end, where the GFS ensembles forecasting NAO to go. We're currently really quite negative with the NAO and have been through most of April and May so far, occasionally struggling up towards neutral, but generally we have been in quite an extended negative NAO phase. GFS ensembles are forecasting that we're going to stay negative with the NAO for the next week to 10 days. Again, as with the AO, possibly few hints that we might be returning closer to neutral with the NAO by the time we get to the end of May, but that's a very long way off. It looks as though both the indexes are going to be in a negative phase through much of the rest of May, which is probably going to be a signal for, this time of year, further unsettled weather with low pressure developing underneath the blocking, and also probably quite cool weather as well. We shall see about that. Right, so let's do some forecasting then. Means how the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles are looking today. Looking at Belfast. So the red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Belfast. We're starting off below average for the next week to 10 days. Going to be below average with both upper air temperatures and with surface temperatures too. There may be a little bit of a warming trend now starting to emerge right at the very end of May and into the start of June. It's a very long way off, of course, semi-extended range, but I think we do see signs here that the upper air temperature is starting to rally a little bit. You can see from the white line, which is the ensemble mean, that is significantly below the 30-year average for the next week to 10 days. But beyond that, right at the very end of May, it does start to lift back up to and actually goes slightly above the long-term 30-year average. This is masking that there's quite a split, though, in this period. So we have got these warm ensemble members up here, or warmer ensemble members up here. Some of them, well, two of them going quite hot. We certainly can't rule out these ensemble members down here, though, but are keeping things pretty cool, even into the beginning of June. So there is quite a split there, but I think there is enough there to suggest that we may be starting to see a little bit of an increase in the temperature for the last days of May and into the opening days of June. Precipitation-wise, lots of precipitation to come over the next week or so. Going to be regular rainfall spikes into the final week of May. Remember, this is Belfast, so it's close to the Atlantic. It's exposed to areas of low pressure and whatnot, more so than something like London would be. But nevertheless, it's going to be unsettled for the next week to 10 days with showers or longer spells of rain. Again, there may be a little bit of a drying trend beginning to emerge in the final days of May and into the beginning of June. This period just here is possibly showing a slight drying trend. Not complete dry. Several of those ensemble members are still producing rainfall, but I think there's enough there to suggest that the Azores High may be showing signs of making a move right at the very end of the month and possibly trying to ridge in. Whether it's successful, whether it lasts very long, that's another matter. But I think the Azores High might be starting to show its hand a little bit there by the end of the month. Not going to make any difference for next week. So temperature anomalies from the 16th to 24th of May are going to be colder than average, not just the UK, but from most parts of Europe as well. I've been saying that a lot over the past few weeks. Precipitation anomalies from the 16th to 24th of May are going to be wetter than average. So another cool, wet week coming up. Latest wind flow map from earthnorthschool.net shows that we're centred under an area of low pressure today. We're expecting big showers and potentially thunderstorms as well to get going through the course of today. Going to be very lively. Have a look at our 7 a.m. Forecast if you would like a little bit more detail about today's weather. Right, here we go then. This is how UK Met is looking for Wednesday. So we're between areas of low pressure on Wednesday. So one low is moving away to northeast Scotland. Next low is out of the Atlantic. Should we put webcam up for this part? Let's do that, shall we? There we go. Okay, so we've got 2 areas of low pressure east and west of us on Wednesday, but we'll actually be under a slight transient ridge potentially on Wednesday, but could give us a rather dry day. But look at this, low pressure deepening in the Atlantic as we go through into Thursday, and that brings another push of wet and windy weather into the second half of next week. Strong gale force winds there potentially, and bouts of heavy rain. Finishing up at 144 hours, Saturday 22nd of May, under another area of low pressure. Back to square one, exactly where we are right now, with another big area of low pressure sitting over top of the coast. So very unsettled with the UK Met. This is how the GFS midnight run is looking. So again, between low pressures on Wednesday, one low to the north of Scotland, another low out in the Atlantic, should allow a little bit of a transient ridge to build up for Wednesday. Thursday, we've got this area of low pressure deepening like mad to the west of Ireland. That brings wet and windy weather sweeping in through Thursday into Friday. Tight back ties are passing back, so there could be gale force winds coming in with this area of low pressure. Look at that big dartboard right over top of the country by Saturday. That's midnight Saturday. Big dartboard low seen over top of country, 985 millibars with that. That's very low pressure for May. So going to be wet and windy at the end of the week and into next weekend. Beyond that, the low pressure moves into the North Sea. Another low pressure is out in the Atlantic. That one starts heading not quite stormy with that one, but nevertheless, that's bringing more wet weather in off the Atlantic as we get through to Monday, the 24th of May, running up towards day 10. We get to day 10 itself, and again, just trying to see a little bit of a ridge coming up from the Azores from down here, but the area of low pressure is also to the west of Scotland, so that just rolls in, brings us another spell of wet and windy weather, potentially up to around 27th of May, with signs of a little bit of a mid-Atlantic ridge pulling wind back into the north as well. And then we get the high pressure starting to ridge in from the west, so jet stream beginning to go northwards with this. So we're bringing in like a west-northwest. It's still quite cool with this, but it is starting to turn drier. Pressure is rising. And so we will have a drying trend there. Not particularly exciting temperatures, I have to say. The warmest weather will, of course, be in the south and west, where we're closest to the ridge of high pressure. In the north, it could actually be a little bit unsettled. But we're not talking about particularly warm or hot weather with this. Just turning a little bit drier and potentially feeling a little bit warmer as the sun is so strong at this time of year, albeit tempered by that west to northwesterly. By the very end of the GFS midnight run, which today gets us to the 1st of June, we're back into northerly winds again. Looks like the high pressure is also trying to pull back out into the Atlantic again, so that could be opening the door to more unsettled conditions. But for a couple of days there, right at the end of May, does turn drier and a little bit warmer, I think, especially for the south. This is how the GEM is looking. So again, Wednesday, we're between areas of low pressure. Should be a little bit of a quiet day on Wednesday. Not for long, in comes the next batch of wet windy weather for the second half of this week. Gale force winds and heavy rain as well. Dartboard low sitting over top of the country by next weekend. That will bring bouts of rain and also cool temperatures as well. So it remains a bit of a washout, bit of a write-off up to next weekend. Beyond that, heading up towards day 10. Again, look at this. There's the Azores high. That's trying to send a ridge towards us. And, by the time we get through to day 10 itself, which is the 26th of May, we have got a little bit of a ridge going on here. I haven't seen one of those for quite a while. So we have got a bit of a ridge going on from the southwest, building northwards. You see the low pressure and the jet stream, black lines of jet stream, of course, low pressure and jet stream being shunted up to the north by this ridge. So by day 10, we are settling down. Again, it's not particularly warm, but it's warmer than like what GFS was showing. Probably would be enough to get temperatures into the low 20 Celsius, I would have thought, down in the south. And there should be quite a bit of sunshine with that, particularly so for England and Wales. So, again, just a few hints here, but by day 10, we might be seeing the Azores high making a little bit of a move. This is how the ECM is looking. So, again, Wednesday brings in a little bit of a transient ridge. Not for long, though. Next low deepens out to west of Ireland by midnight on Thursday, bringing wet and windy weather sweeping across the country as we go through the second half of the week. And into next weekend, it's going to be cool and unsettled with winds remaining from the north. So, showery and quite cold for next weekend. Beyond that, heading up towards day 10, again, there's the Azores high trying to send a ridge towards us. And it does bring a ridge in towards more southern parts of the country by day 10, just the 26th of May. So a little bit drier and potentially a little bit warmer for England and Wales. Still rather unsettled and showery, I think, up in the north. But we could be seeing signs here that the Azores high is on the way for the end of the month. Maybe it'll give us a nice bank holiday weekend. We'll have to wait and see. Right, this is the precipitation type forecast based on that ECM run from Meteo.com. Loads of showers coming up today, away from Scotland anyway. Lots of showers and potentially thunderstorms too. So it's going to be a lively afternoon. Into this evening, most showers will fade out, so it becomes drier overnight. Maybe do it all over again tomorrow, particularly for more eastern areas, central eastern areas, getting the showers and thunderstorms tomorrow, and down in the south, a little bit drier for those western parts of the country tomorrow. Again, overnight, Monday into Tuesday, they sort of fade away, and then into Tuesday, more showers bubble up, this time perhaps focus further south and the Northern Ireland, Northern England, perhaps a bit drier, lots of showers across Scotland. Into middle of the week, not quite as many showers for Wednesday, but then of course in comes that low pressure later on in the week, giving strong winds, gale force winds potentially with that, and heavy rain as well. So that's a proper dose of wind and rain coming in later next week. And then we're back into those showery northerlies once again. Cold enough, a little bit of snow over Scottish mountains by the end of next week too. Showers continuing to next weekend, and then we begin to get this drying trend emerging as we move up towards day 10. We see the rain being pushed towards the far north and west. Clearly it's turning drier for more southern and eastern areas. So there is the drying trend there as we get up towards day sort of 8, 9 and 10. Right, the last thing we'll show you is going to be the CFSV2 monthly forecast. Remember, we can't show you options on the table within the ECL Ensemble Swimming Icelandic Met Office in the Sunday Roundup, because they don't update until later on. Or the 4-week forecast from the CFS. We'll show you both of those things, though, in our live stream from 6 o'clock. We can show you the CFS V2 700 millibar height anomaly forecast for June, however, and it's still going for an anticyclonic June here, with above average heights, high pressure centred over the UK and Western Europe as well. Low pressure is, let's do that again, so we've got low pressure being centred, we've got high pressure there across Europe and also extending into the UK. So it's a little bit difficult because we're perched on the very, very edges of these maps most of the time. We're not centred in the middle. So you have to look at both far edges, really, to work it out. But we're in a high pressure. We've got low pressure being pushed off up there with the jet stream as well. So an anticyclonic June coming up, if that is right. Not particularly excited with the temperatures, but I would have thought with like high pressure centred over top of the country, we'd probably expect quite a warm month, really, I would have thought. But the model is actually going for near normal temperatures or no signal, and no signal for precipitation. But again, with high pressure sort of dominating the scene through June, I would have thought a pretty dry month is likely. So to me, I think the CFS has been a little bit pessimistic with those temperature and precipitation anomaly forecasts. And with that kind of 700 millibar height anomaly, I can't see why we wouldn't come away with a warmer and drier than average month. So maybe we're going to have a warm, sunny, dry June. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, any forecast beyond 5-7 days is unreliable. But the CFS has been quite consistent with that. So all eyes on June, I think, in the coming days. Is like the emergence of the Azores high right at the end of May, the start of a trend towards warmer and drier weather into June. We shall see. Time will tell. Right, if you enjoyed today's Sunday Roundup, please can you smash your like button, make sure you are subscribed to our channel, you'll be able to see future weather content. If you do that, tell friends and family to subscribe as well. Thank you so much. We are moving now into the grind to 12k subscribers. And drop a comment and let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. Right, that's it for Sunday Roundup then. So we're going to be back later on live streaming from 6 o'clock. It's a Sunday live stream, so we've got to do some long range. We'll be showing you data from the CFSV2 and also from the Beijing Climate Centre, I think, today as well. So so I shall see you live at 6. You enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And for the Sunday Roundup, that's all for now. And thanks for watching, and see you a little bit later on. Bye for now.